My name is Christopher Williams. I'm the Vice President of Capacity Interactive. Thanks. Our next panel is entitled Video Killed the Radio and Print Star. If you don't understand that reference, congratulations, you are younger and more beautiful than the rest of us. Before I bring up our panel of practitioners, we're going to show you this year's crop of exemplary arts marketing videos. I hope that you're going to love them. I hope that you can draw inspiration from them throughout the rest of the year. Why we're still talking about video. I feel like the panel preceding us was also talking about video. It's important. We talk about the study from Google all the time, and I'm going to talk about it one more time right now. In Google's study of live event ticket buyers, those who saw a video about a show were thought more favorably about that show. They were 45% in that category. 68% of those people said that it influenced their purchase. And 26% of those people said that viewing an online video was the most influential in impacting the likelihood of attending a performance. So I hope that we can all agree about the efficacy of video at this point. When I was a young arts marketer starting out in my career, I worked at a Midwestern performing arts center in a tertiary market. Many of you in the room are in that current situation. I worked at a brand new performing arts center. The artistic director at that performing arts center was very zealous and programmed a lot of contemporary dance in a market that had never even had a live event space ever before. So you can imagine how difficult that was. I would go, and these contemporary dance companies would send me these amazing videos on Betamax. Anyone? Betamax? Thank you, veterans. And I couldn't do anything with it. I didn't have TV money at all. I certainly wasn't going to use it on a contemporary dance program. I would go to the movies and I would see previews for films and I would think to myself, damn, if I could just do this for these contemporary dance programs, I might actually have a shot at selling some tickets or at least creating some awareness. Today, we absolutely take that for granted. We all can do that. I used to dream about that and it's totally a possibility today, and it's already so much of a possibility that we totally take it for granted. In thinking about this panel, I came across a blog post from Seth Godin about using video well. In it, he reminds us that the web was built on words, and words are available to anybody who can type. They're cheap and they're easy, and when we use them really well, they can be incredibly powerful. Today, the internet and social media are built on the back of video. And it's much more difficult to create well, but when we do it, it's far more impactful. Costs more to produce, it's much more difficult to edit, it takes a much different talent to create it, and because of those things, we often avoid it or we don't use it as much as we should. Or worse, to the detriment of ourselves and our organization, we post something mediocre. Totally guilty of doing that. Video doesn't change the rules for us though, right? Putting a great video on our website, that's not enough. We still need permission, we still need remarkability, we still need to create videos that matter. Great video represents an opportunity for us if we invest in it, and that's what we're going to talk about today, to really tell our stories in a way that is really, really sticky. So now we are going to watch a reel of videos that do that very, very well. It is long. It is about 23 minutes. So please sit back and relax, and we'll be back after this is over.
There's a force out there more compelling than anything in the universe. An unceasing energy that opens vistas to new worlds and transports humans to far-off places in the blink of an eye. The source of this power has been researched and debated in the most illustrious of academic journals and institutions. It's a force of disruption, but the kind of disruption that forges stars, creates worlds, instigates change. more relevant than ever. It is a force as old as humanity itself. And while most of the galaxy's phenomena are best viewed from a safe distance, this force must be seen up close.
We started in 1974. Just 3 guys and a few friends. We were a rough and tumble company that grew into an ensemble. As talented and audacious as the Windy City that spawned us. We've won awards.
And the Tony goes to August Osage County.
And we've toured the world, but wherever we go, and whatever we do, we always carry with us our city's pride. It's a story born from the generosity of our community, so we give back. We teach our city's kids. We provide free theater to our city's veterans, and we mentor our city's future artists. We are the World Theater on Halsted Street. We are Chicago's theater. We are Steppenwolf.
Flowers in a Glass Vase was painting by Jacob van Walskapel in 1667. It was given to the museum as part of the Leonidas bequest in 1900. A painting like this in its 17th century context was a meditation on transience, that butterflies, flower and beauty are all short-lived. We don't believe that the painting has been treated since it arrived in the museum. With time, varnish becomes more and more yellow and cloudy. It changes the perception of the painting, decreasing the contrast between colors. By removing the varnish, we will be able to see the painting clearly. We carry out tests to determine the best solvent mixture to dissolve the varnish, to make sure that we do not harm the original paint. We can also see that there have been different treatment campaigns, as some of the areas of retouching are slightly obscured by the fluorescence of the varnish layer and some are not. A small flake has already been lost, revealing the red ground layer. We use Sturgeon's glue applied through acid-free tissue to reattach the paint flakes. Afterwards, the paper and any excess glue will be removed. It is left under a gentle weight to dry. The fact that the paint is flaking away from the ground layer rather than the ground layer from the canvas indicates that it's partly a problem of material or technique, as well as changes in the painting's environment. Before we apply any new filling or retouching, the painting is varnished to isolate it from the new material and to saturate the colors. We will choose a synthetic varnish that has been tested for its aging property. It will not yellow as quickly as natural resin, and it will remain more easily soluble in the future. The filling is the last step before retouching. The aim is to fill the loss precisely so that the level and surface texture match the surrounding original paint. The losses are retouched to regain the unity of the composition. We use pigments bound in a synthetic resin that has been tested for its aging properties. The final varnish is applied to the painting for added protection. Transformed, the painting will go on display in the room dedicated to the Unidist collection in the Paintings Gallery here at the Victoria and Albert Museum.
I will make you my enemy. I will work at your destruction. I will dedicate myself. I won't rest until I desolate your heart. See Frankenstein live on stage at the Denver Center, September 30th through October 30th. For tickets, visit denvercenter.org.
A place where I can go when I am lost, and there I'll find me. I need a place to spend the day where no one says to go or stay, where I can take my pen and draw the girl I mean to be.
In the corps de ballet, it's mostly women, and we are expected to be exactly together and to do exactly what we are told. And there's something really satisfying about being in a corps and having everyone breathe and move together, you know, like a society and a unified thought. When I was growing up, I wanted to be that beautiful ballerina out there on stage. That was my whole goal, and that was how my imagination worked. But what I didn't know is that it was actually possible to go further. Legendary choreographer George Balanchine said, "Ballet is woman." And in so many ways, that is true. Women are the muse. And that's how it works in our field. You know, when you really look at the actual leadership, when you look at the artistic directors and all the major choreographers, they're mostly men. I felt the pressure of being one of the few women in a leadership position. I felt that I not only needed to be prepared, but I needed to go beyond. I needed to be better somehow. I needed to generate a confidence. But it took a few failures, it took learning, taking advice, it took building a team around me. To be a leader, it's important that you believe in your own voice and in your own direction. In some ways, you have to be brave. You have to find a voice and believe that you deserve to have that voice. You have to put yourself out there. I'm so thankful because today things are really changing. Women are taking on leadership. Not only out being muses on stage, but to actually see women in charge, women inspiring you, pushing you to go further than you think you could go, and helping to redefine the role of women in this art form.
Fresh and happy. Maybe this time it's more deeper, I think, and more melancholic. It's more deeper, I think, and more melancholic. Stuff like that, but I think in a way it's deeper than on cover. It was really light and fresh and happy. Maybe this time it's more deeper, I think.
You've got mail.
Sir or madam, my wife and I just attended. The only reason I did not boo at the end of this play is that I don't know the etiquette for booing at the Guthrie. Is hissing the proper response?
The Guthrie is a beautiful building that has a horse's ass policy if you want to take a picture inside it. You ain't the Taj Mahal.
We saw tonight. That was the worst play I have ever seen in my life. The storyline was non-existent, and the language. The Guthrie should be ashamed of themselves for putting on such a play. As Charlie Brown would say, ugh. Don't blame the actors. They were fine.
Broadway? This is not.
Egos beyond belief. It's worse than you would think.
My wife and I have attended Guthrie Theatre productions many times over the past 50 years and have rarely been disappointed in what we saw. But last night we attended the production of and felt that only the set and lighting design lived up to the Guthrie Theatre's standard of quality. I would suggest that an editor could take about 45 to 60 minutes out of the script. This rendition of was especially disappointing since we had attended the production of just last week. We told everyone who would listen about the wonderful production. We won't tell anyone about except you. On another topic, seat H306 is broken. We made an usher aware of this, but nothing has been done about it last night. These are all true.
Mr. Hodge, first, rip out all the seats in McGuire Theater and start over. Having the same leg space as a commercial airliner does not make for an enjoyable theater experience. Same goes for the Walker's McGuire Theater. Second, open queue for after-show desserts and coffee. And third, enjoy yourself. Welcome to Minnesota.
Perhaps there can be an improvement in the quality of people who work there now. It's frustrating to be trying to watch a play when sitting next to you are two people, Guthrie employees likely, making out noisily, or walking into the lobby area at intermission and running into guys dressed in drag. Wow.
I want to welcome our panelists to the stage. Coming up first here is Mark Ciglar from Cinevative. Mark is the founder and president of Cinevative. Cinevative makes some of the most amazing pre-production and motion graphics videos. They specialize in our sector, so I am always happy to sit next to people who chooses us. Next is Morgan Boecher from Caramoor. Morgan represents so many of you in the audience today, people who have to run marketing departments and also create content and videos, and Morgan has made a really strategic decision to get really good at that. And then finally on the end there, we have Joel Moreman from Steppenwolf, who's the main digital content producer there. Steppenwolf is, I think, famous to many of us for producing really, really awesome video content. So welcome, panelists. Thank you so much for being here with us today. A few observations about what we just watched. I hope that all of you are filled with all sorts of different emotions at this point. I know that I am. We didn't show you any videos that are sort of direct from the stage. Did anyone else come away with that? These were all videos that were trying to evoke emotion or explain an experience to you. There's a reason why that's important, because so many of us are tasked with creating videos that brand our organizations and are tasked with influencing people to try to buy tickets when we don't actually have assets to create videos. I want to also say that many of you, I think at this point in boot camp, are starting to fatigue, and you start to say to yourself, am I doing anything right? I have so much work to do. I want to say that I absolutely understand that feeling, and there's a very specific reason that we started with the first video from Dance Theatre of Harlem and the last video from Ballet Met, because the people who created those videos sat in this audience at previous boot camps and felt exactly the way that you're feeling now and went away and made those videos. So that's a really incredible achievement. Kiana from Dance Theatre of Harlem and Lynette from Ballet Met, can you just raise your hands? Because I want people who feel that way to know where you are. Lynette from Ballet Met made that video with her brother. And Kiana dreamed up that video for Dance Theatre of Harlem. She's a little bit of a space nerd, and so am I, and I share that with her. And she said, I want Neil deGrasse Tyson to voice over this video, and she got him. It's amazing, and I'm really proud of both of them and those videos, and I think that that's the thing that we can take away from this. You can get really overwhelmed and paralyzed at a conference and not do anything, but you can also go away and pick one thing, and it can look like that. So I want to talk first to you, Morgan. You made that really great video about the experience of what Caramoor is. And I just want you to talk about what your motivation for doing that was and the sort of journey to get there.
Sure. Well, Caramoor is a very unique place, and it's not entirely easy to describe because we're 90 acres of gardens and grounds with a historic house full of Renaissance art, but our main bag is musical performance, and even within that category we have everything from chamber music to American roots music, American songbook, opera, symphonic. We partner with Jazz at Lincoln Center for our jazz music, and it's difficult to explain all that you can do and see and explore at Caramoor, because you can come for a day and picnic, you can go for a tour in the house, and we struggle with packaging all of this messaging and helping people see what a Caramoor experience is like. And we're finding that video is very useful in getting to show audiences what Caramoor is. And so with that, we're trying to work on that bit by bit. With the video that you saw right here, our message was, we are a fun and easy to access place, largely, because people have this idea of Caramoor being all the way up in northern Westchester, stuck in the woods. It's classical music, which a lot of people have preconceived perceptions of that, like it's not for me, it's elite. And so we really tried to break that down and show that we have families coming, kids can run around on the lawns, there's beer and pretzels, young people can come as well. We tried to demonstrate that by acting yourself in it. Yeah, and so with that, this video was actually created through a class. Now, we didn't start with a formal video program about a year ago, and with that came a lot of bumps in the road. I don't have a video background, and I was still tasked with creating and managing video at Caramoor. And at first, it happened by Frankensteining and project managing the sound editor and the videographer and trying to get artist permissions and doing this without really having a foundation and understanding in what these video tools were and what you could do with them as well. So, I mean, we had an old camera that was hard to use. I ran into a lot of issues with tech and artistic, stepping on their toes because I didn't understand audio setups and what have you. So we decided to take a step back. We heard that at Jacob Burns Film Center in Pleasantville, New York, there's a class specifically for nonprofit organizations for video training. So we decided to take a semester of that in the fall of 2015, and it was excellent. It took us through each step from storyboarding to copyright, legal issues, to operating a camera, and then they lent us their camera, so we went out and shot the film at my apartment. That was my cat. At my boss's house with her family as well, and we just scrappily used the resources we had available to us.
Okay, well done. Mark created the videos for Frankenstein and Secret Garden that we just watched. First of all, those are amazing, and he uses CGI. And I just want to say, and we can talk about this more, but I think those of us sitting in the audience see a video and are like, I cannot afford that, but we're going to make Mark talk about the reasons that we actually can afford to do things like that. But your main motivation with the videos that you create is to really leave us with a feeling. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's twofold. You know, ultimately, we want to make somebody feel something, and that's the thing that video does better than anything, really. The challenge that most people face is that you need to have that kind of content early on. And I find that the earlier your sales cycle becomes, the weaker the content becomes, because you've got fewer resources to work with. And so I'm seeing, through use of technology, the ability to improve that as time goes on. So we've really tried to look at what are the things that have worked, as you were saying, in film trailers. We looked at other kinds of entertainment. What have people been able to do to really impact the way somebody feels? And take some of those principles and apply them to the performing arts. Because a lot of times when we just look at a video of a performance, it's very difficult to capture that experience. There's so many times that we've been in a situation where we've videotaped something, or, you know, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have showed a video of a performance to somebody, and the video, I mean, the performance itself was amazing, and at the end you're feeling like you gotta have to say, you had to be there. It was really cool, just trust me. And, you know, trying to bridge that gap so that we can create something on screen that has the same impact that a live experience does is, you know, what we try to do.
When I was on the client side, I actually worked with Mark's company, but can you just for a moment sort of explain quickly the sort of technology you use to make something like that?
Sure. So those particular examples were, it was live actors shot in a green screen studio, and then everything around them is computer generated. That seems like that would be a really, really costly thing. It's actually much less costly than doing that completely live, for the reason being that if you have a season of, let's say, 6 productions, if you were to go to a location and shoot a commercial for each one of those, it would get really, really expensive, because you're shooting on multiple days, you're using huge crews, you're having to light large spaces. For this, we used a small green screen stage that's not much bigger than this area of the stage, and we shot the entire season in one day. So we've got one crew, one camera, one lighting setup. We just bring the actors in, shoot it out quickly, and then move on. And then we can have one person on one computer for each one of those spots, creating the environments around them. So you can create a lot of value by doing the entire season at once.
Amazing. I think that for a lot of us, I will throw myself into this category. I am not a great storyteller. I don't know how to make video. I'm a great marketing strategist, but I need people to help me with those pieces. And for a lot of us, that's something that we need to admit, and we have to have the right people in our organizations, and we need leadership support in order to make that happen, and we need time and resources. Joel's journey to joining Steppenwolf and building a video program there is really interesting. Can you talk about that?
Sure. I have a theater background. I got a degree in theater. I moved to Chicago and worked at being a director of theater for like 10 years. But along the way, I kind of just dabbled in video. I had friends who worked in production companies, so literally when I would run out of money, I would go PA for a commercial or something. And when I got to the, like the 10-year mark, I'm like, I'm not sure this theater thing is gonna work out the way I wanted to, but I'm really liking video. And I was doing video in some of our theater projects, and I was producing some video content for a theater company I was working with. And so about that time, this job at Steppenwolf came available. And it really wasn't a defined position. They'd had kind of a documentarian in the role prior to me. But they'd gotten a grant to do some research, and they found out that millennials really liked video, and they should probably get some of those videos. What's interesting is this was 6 years ago. It was really at the time when DSLR cameras were kind of exploding. You could suddenly buy a camera that behaved like a cinema camera. You could put different lenses on it and create a shallow depth of field. And for whatever reason, the people at Steppenwolf knew that. They're like, we want that thing, that look, that cinema thing. And I'm like, okay, well, I think we can figure that out. And so that's how it started. We had a little bit of money. I bought 2 DSLR cameras. I never really told them this, but I'd never really been paid to hit record on a camera, and I'd never really been paid to edit video. So I just thought I could. I thought I could do it with the theater experience. I was a storyteller, I thought, Right. I was desperate too. I wanted to create, and so here were all these tools, and I'm like, I think we can do it. I just need to look up how to edit real quick. And so much like you, I taught myself, and I kept it a secret. I would go home and I would just watch videos, like tutorials basically, how to shoot, how to edit, how to buy gear. And in this day and age, all of our content is still out there. So painfully, you can go see all of my first videos on YouTube or on Steppenwolf's website. They were okay, but bit by bit, they got better. What was really interesting, at the time when I started, we had an older artistic director and an older executive director. But they'd seen this research, and they were really excited about video. And they were really excited about empowering me and kind of my department of 2 at the time. Our kind of webmaster worked with me. And so they really started to kind of treat me like an artist, and they really kind of gave us a little more money and kind of pushed us. And, we started thinking, wait, maybe we can do great videos, like really great videos, right? If we just kind of plan now and say this is gonna be a process, we actually have support from leadership to do this. We don't have a lot of money. We still don't have a lot of money, but.
Joel, you have to tell them what your budget is, because it's kind of remarkable, what you do with what you have.
I've like $1,200 a show.
That was my response.
And actors, union actors are $500 pop. So you get 2 of them and you buy a song and you're done. There is some flexibility that they kind of loosely say, here's your, whatever that is, times 5 or 6 shows. If you spend a little more on one because you think it's a really good idea, then just spend a little less on the next one. So then you're down to 1 actor for the next. So when I say we still don't have much money, we don't. But the videos continue to get better, I think. We tended to get a lot of support from the artistic staff and the leadership. And I'm still just on that journey to kind of learn and make the best videos we can.
Both of you, you and Morgan both talked about being given freedom and support and being given the opportunity essentially to fail and iterate. Can both of you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, I work with amazing people. Really, that's the secret. But we're a small team. The marketing department is about 4 people. I manage 2 people who attended the class with me, and then we have the marketing director, who was also featured in the video. And she, trusts us, and that underlies so much of the freedom that we have. And she trusts us because we are dedicated to our projects and the creative we try to make. And even though, yes, we may make mistakes and step on toes or fail here and there, like the intent to get it right and to evolve is there. And she appreciates that and understands that. So that means everything to the team.
Mm-hmm. And Joel, you talked about being given a very long runway when you started at Steppenwolf.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just common sense. Just don't try to be excellent right out of the box, right? Like, it's not going away, right? Video's gonna be here. So we really kind of said, let's step by step kind of progress. One year I was like, let's just focus on editing. One year, let's focus on scoring. One year, let's really focus on how we shoot and frame and put things together. One year, let's just focus on concepts, like writing a concept, like reading a play and trying to figure out how to make a trailer is hard. But because I work at a theater company and we create art and we support artists, it didn't take very long for leadership and even kind of at the marketing management level to kind of switch their brains and go, oh, right, I also have a theater degree. I also am an artist. I know how this works. Let's think about it that way. Like, let's be collaborative. Let's talk about it. Let's get excited. And because it's video, we don't fail. We create a draft and we look at it and we go, well, maybe we need to redo that before we go live with it. We're always chasing a deadline. We're always behind schedule. Like, still, I'm literally posting videos like, it'll be just 1 minute before you send that email. You can put it in, But really the important thing was how to do it well, make sure it represented the company and the show. Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't, if it's just okay, that's all right too, because we're going to do another one in like 3 weeks. Right. So just get it out there, and we'll see how many clicks we get.
That leads me to my next question. One of the things that we talked about was that it was the sheer volume of video that we have to create today. It's not just about creating one amazing video and moving on. We have to keep creating videos over and over and over. And part of that is just our willingness as consumers to keep watching video. More than half of US users who visit Facebook daily watch at least one video, and performing arts ticket buyers specifically watch 5 million YouTube videos every month. So there's certainly an appetite to watch a lot of video. Mark, one of the things you talk about is how video is becoming less of a presentation tool and more of a conversation tool.
Yeah. It's that's a shift that I see happening pretty rapidly. That when we first started, video really was almost like a monologue. You were speaking in one direction, and now it really is a conversation. It's your side of the conversation. You put out a video, someone else comments on it, someone else shares it. It's a two-way engagement. And that's a really powerful thing, but it's also a really challenging thing in that it requires you to create much more content to keep up your end of the conversation. And so the challenge there is, where do you allocate your resources? You can't do, like you were saying, you can't do 100% video every time out of the gate. It just isn't practical. It doesn't make sense. So we've tried to look at prioritizing the resources that you put into video in a way that really kind of aligns with how you position your story. So for example, the image that I use a lot is this idea of an onstage voice and a backstage voice. So for example, if you're giving a backstage tour, it doesn't really matter what your backstage looks like. You don't spend a lot of money dressing up your backstage to do a backstage tour, because nobody cares. People are just there to experience what that's like and to be an inside part of your family. And so the value there is not in how it looks. The value is in the access that they're being given for that tour. But in your front of house, in your lobby area, inside the theater, that's a different story. The environment there is part of their experience as a ticket holder. And you want to have that sense of perceived value on that side of the curtain. And I see video much in the same way, that if you are doing behind the scenes videos, if you're doing talking heads videos, not throwing all of your resources into those, but getting them out quickly, getting your stories out there and allowing yourself to be scrappy with those, and having as much input in that two-way conversation as you possibly can. And then when it comes to video that's reflecting the quality that's happening on stage, taking the resources that you need to accomplish that and just allocating them there. So you're not trying to create these really high-end videos for everything. You're really just saying, this is reflective of the quality of work that we do. We create art, and here's a little piece of art that represents that quality. And then everything else really just becomes much more of a casual conversation on video.
Mm-hmm. Joel, you talked about, you've sort of come up with a templatizing procedure for coming up with 3 different types of videos that you guys produce at Steppenwolf. Can you talk about that? It sort of speaks to the efficiency of being able to create all this video.
Sure. Yeah, I currently make 3 videos per show. A trailer, an audience response video, and then some type of talking head, behind the scenes, interview-based content with hopefully good B-roll. That was, it was a learning process and a journey. I think when I first started, like the week I started, Steppenwolf had put together their very first trailer shoot. They had a new play. It was for a new play festival, and they hired a cinematographer, and they rented an apartment, and they really did a nice job. And so it was my first week. I went, and it went great. I thought it looked beautiful. I was like, oh, I need to be that good. And they cut it, and they took it to the director of the play for her approval, and she said, oh no, this is totally wrong. We've changed the play. The playwright has rewritten that character. You've made him a villain, and that's not it, so no. So everybody was like, oh no, we can't make trailers. There's just no way, because you don't know what's gonna happen. And so some time passed, and we messed around with photo trailers, where we take production photos and try to make a trailer of some kind, but it wasn't early enough. So what we determined is that there was a very specific point of time that maybe we could make a trailer for a play. That would be the week before or the week of first rehearsal. For us, a lot of our directors, our actors live out of town, so they're flying in. And so that's really the point when we might be able to get them and they're not mired into the production process. And so we picked that time and determined that that was a good window to make a trailer. We always knew that an audience response video was a good tool. We'd seen numbers from other theater companies around us, and they always had a lot of views and people liked them. So we kind of determined right away we should make that. And of all the videos we do, it's the easiest. There are some tricks to figuring out how to kind of templatize that process, but all in all, it's pretty easy. You put a camera there and you get people to come say what they think about the show, and you put a little B-roll in and you're done. And we particularly time that the Thursday after opening, because we have press quotes from opening night. So we put some quotes in there, and that it continues to like blow me away. Frankly, I don't want to ever make another one again. I make them all the time. But they do amazing. It's like insurance for a ticket buyer. Like they, if they're like, oh, I don't know, and they go see a bunch of people say, it was great, I loved it, and they see some B-roll, and suddenly they're buying a ticket. So we will do that, I'm sure, for a long time. I hope that at some point I can kind of, revolutionize how we do it and make it a little more interesting and push it. But for right now, it's an amazing video. And then, a talking head interview video, we've done some studies on our audience, and there are many of them who are theater nerds who will just come and just see anything. They just want to spend time with the artists, the art, and they love those videos, and they get a lot of views. And so we, just given the resources that I have, we were like, well, that's probably as much as we can do, and they all seem to serve a particular purpose in our marketing schedule and fit our audience. So
great.
That's how we got there.
How many of you, when we start to talk about video and you think about the music that is underscoring the video and that it makes you feel something? Often I find it like a great video, if the music is great, is the thing that makes you feel good. But then you start to think about amplifying that video and paying to promote it, and then music rights creeps in, right? And I think that every time I go speak and I tell people to create more video, 2 people at least will come up to me afterwards and ask me about how you deal with music rights. You've dealt with that in a very interesting way in yours, Morgan.
Yep.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So the song that played in the It Stays With You video was by one of our great friend bands called Cricket Tell the Weather. They're so much fun. They perform at our American Roots festivals all the time. And they were super easy. We asked, we have this video here. We would like to put your song in it. We'll credit you. They were all about it. Not always the case with all artists. In fact, we spend time putting together artist interviews, and sometimes we'll get the permissions beforehand to do that, of course, and then, or always we'll do that, but then after the interview, they'll ask, okay, now we need to review it and give you permission to boost it out to the public. And sometimes we don't hear back from artist management. We had to hold on to a video for over a year. Luckily, we were able to release it eventually, but it was sort of disheartening after putting in all of this effort and standing by with the camera, hoping that the artist would agree to be interviewed on that day and that they would be present and then there wouldn't be a rehearsal going long or anything like that. After all of that, and not even getting to use the video for a long time. So that's sort of the hazard of this work. It's inherent to it, I think. But we're finding that, there are artists who are interested in getting a little more exposure with their music through, a music video that we'll make of their concert at Caramoor, or with Cricket Tell the Weather. So we're still navigating, okay, where are our best opportunities? What are the more likely asks, or what can we bet on? Since it's shaky ground.
Yeah. Joel, Mark, any tips for us on how we get over music rights issues? It's a tough one.
It's a tough one, yeah. I mean, we end up dealing with the publishers frequently. We have found that there are situations in which they have rehearsal recordings that they are willing to license at times, and that's been really helpful and beneficial. We've partnered with some of the publishers, allowing us to sort of license out some of those tracks. And then in a lot of cases where that's not possible, we've ended up licensing music in the style of, which is, you know, for a musical is a little challenging. Certainly for a play, it makes a lot more sense. I think for both of these spots, we created, I don't know, no, the one for Secret Garden was a track from them. But like for the Frankenstein, that was just a score that we created, you know, just using software. Yeah.
Any tips, Joel?
Yeah, I could talk for a long time about this. It's crazy. I mean, Steppenwolf doesn't produce musicals, so that's not a problem. It's, you know, pretty straightforward drama stuff. So the music that I need for a video is for a trailer. It's for emotion, for you know, an interview or anything like that. You know, it's just to create some kind of connection to the actual production. And a lot of times when our sound designers are in, they create amazing stuff, but it just doesn't work to float under a video. And when I started, I literally would spend like 2 days scouring the internet trying to find the right song that matched what I thought the tone of the play was. And it was so hard to do. And then ultimately, you know, you had to pay for it. And so I really did, after kind of being miserable and struggling with this, I just went to, you know, the powers that be, and I said, I have to be able to just buy good music. I just, you know, like it's killing the whole process for me to search for it. I have to be able to go to a site and license a song for like $200, which seems reasonable, it's $200, but given our very, very small budget, that's a lot of money. And they said yes. So now really there's, you know, you can email me, we can talk afterwards. There's a whole bunch of really bad sites out there with really cheesy music. And you're immediately like, no, that's bad, like cable access music. I don't want that. I want cinema, you know? But there's actually, you know, a handful of really good sites, and you just pay for it, and you save yourself a lot of headache and a lot of pain. You have to learn how to search. A lot of them have extensive online catalogs, and you really have to develop kind of a technique for putting in keywords to get that thing that you hear in your head, but you can't quite define it or describe it until you hear it, right? Or you get, most times, like you were saying, it's not 100%. It's a close approximation of what I heard in my head, and I'm like, yeah, that's close enough. We'll buy that one. But it's a serious process, and it can be a real challenge if you're doing it in-house and you're trying to bring in all of those tools together to finish a video. It's rough.
And there are more and more sites growing every day. I mean, I'm sure, you know, you've found as well that, I mean, we'll use production tracks or Pond5 or killer tracks. All of those, production tracks tends to be like anybody and everybody who makes music and wants to license it can just sort of throw it up there. So you have to be your own quality control. But you can license a song for $50, you know, so, and there's a lot of variety out there. So check around, you can find a lot of good stuff.
Great. This is my final question to these guys. I want to leave plenty of question time for you all. You know, again, as I said at the top, one of the most powerful things now is that we can distribute our own video content, which I don't think any of us should be taking for granted. We should be taking full advantage of that. And I think it's really important to remember where that's happening. It's happening on Facebook and YouTube. And additionally, those views are happening in our hands. It's happening on mobile devices. In a typical day, 98% of 18 to 34-year-olds report using mobile devices to watch video. I fall into that category, except I'm not 18 to 34. More than half of YouTube views and 2/3 of Facebook video views are on a mobile device. So I just wonder, as content creators for you guys, has the fact that we are so incredibly mobile now changing the way you approach creating video content?
Yeah, in terms of paying attention to the medium, for example, because we post the videos on our website and then YouTube, but most importantly, Facebook in a lot of cases. We think about, well, you know, when you scroll through Facebook, video will start playing, and if you have a talking head there, only a fraction of the people are going to actually click on it and listen to it. So it's very visual, and so we thought about that in terms of, okay, well, if we want to tell a story can we use text in interesting ways on a video? Or like, how can we visually grab someone's attention using that?
I don't know if it's necessarily the mobileness, the social media aspect, right, and the apps that are on those devices has changed the game in such a way where now I'm very, very focused on taking, I'll make a master of a video that's, let's say my cap is 2.5 to 3 minutes, pretty much for any video. So that's kind of the big, nice video that'll sit on the website. But now we're really building a system where I have an assistant, and after I finish a video, my challenge is make a 60-second version of it, make a 30-second version of it, and make a 15-second version of it, because we can use it for banner ads. We can get it on Instagram if it's under 60 seconds, right? So we're taking the assets that we have, and we're really then customizing them. And in some cases, we're changing the order of the edit, just like you were saying, so that we're grabbing their attention in the autoplay. We're either adding or taking away voiceover, just doing little things to kind of test how we can grab that very mobile audience.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things for me about mobile is just that the sheer volume of content that you're living within. So people are sifting through so much video. Having something that from that first second people will go, whoa, what is that? Is important just to get them to second number 2 and second number 3 of that video, because it's tremendously competitive.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Great advice. We have run out of time. If you will have more questions for our panelists, please seek them out at lunch. Thank you, Mark, Joel, and Morgan. Thanks.